Sella, we have a special show for you tonight. As a matter of fact, we are shortening the show. I just tweeted it out due to the humidity in our studio. We are going to focus basically on our special guest in-house tonight in studio. He is an icon of Connecticut sports, high school sports in general, and from 960 WELI and ESPN Radio 1300, I'd like to welcome to the Sports Wire the coach, George DeMaio.
Hello, Vin. Thanks for those kind words. You read it just the way I wrote it. Just the way I wrote it. That's great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, I love it. Love talking sports.
That's great because that's what we're here for.
You got it.
Being the Sports Wire. So let's get right into it right now. And, so you've been in sports for quite a while, especially in Connecticut sports.
Yes. Almost, between part-time and full-time in radio, be almost 30 years this November.
Really?
Yes, 30
And
years.
before that, you played sports. I see down here that you were named the Connecticut Athlete of the Year in 1966.
From West Haven High School, yes.
Really?
Yes, athlete of
So
the year.
you're a local bred talent.
I'm born and bred in West Haven.
That's
West
awesome.
Haven High School, graduated from West Haven. Blue Devils. I bleed blue.
Great.
I bleed blue.
And then from there, you went on to Southern Connecticut.
Yeah, I got a bachelor's and master's in elementary education. I wanted to be a school teacher, and taught school for 4 years. Left teaching. Did various other jobs. Worked at SNET for a while, and then went back to teaching. Got into radio in the meantime, and then went back into teaching and taught for another 15 years. I actually been out of teaching for almost 15 years when I went back.
Wow.
And then taught for another 15 years.
So how'd you get from teaching into radio?
My friend, who I always give credit to because he always, whenever he sees me, he says, "Remember who got you into this?" I say, "Yeah, see who got me into it?" No. His name was Ralph Soley. He used to be a radio listener, avid radio listener. And he listened to KC 101 FM. Well, all of a sudden, I get a call one day. I was working the night shift out of New Haven. Okay, I was working the night shift, and next thing you know, he calls me after getting out of work. He said, "George," he said, he was a big KC 101 listener. He said, "They're looking for a sportscaster at KC 101," and I said, "Okay." He goes, "Well, you've been doing some play-by-play on the cable access for East Haven at the time. I did some basketball games for him."
Okay.
And I said, "Okay." He says, "What you got to do is you got to send the tape in." And so as I said, working midnight to 8 at the time, went home one morning, had the newspaper with me. I hate to date myself, but I had the Journal Courier. And by the way, which was a great paper then. I got a cassette out. I did a sports report. Listened to it. I only did it once. Mailed it in. And they told me to come back. They got it. And they said, "Here's what we're going to do. There are 5 finalists for this job. You are the third one, which means that you'll come in on Wednesday. And for your final interview, you will do a live sports report on KC 101. Now, I didn't know much about KC 101 at the time. And I found out it was a 50,000 watt radio station. Pretty powerful. I said, "Okay." Went after work that day again on Wednesday of that week. They already had 2 people. I didn't know anything about it. I never listened to the radio, except for a sports game.
Right.
They said to me, "Why don't you go in the next studio and prepare for your report?" And I said, "Okay." And I had a jacket on at the time. I coached young kids biddy basketball. We had won the championship, and I had a jacket on that said Coach George. And the guy kiddingly said, "Gee, if you get the job, we'll call you the coach."
Okay.
I said, "Okay." He says, "We'll go in the next studio, and prepare for your report." And I said, "Well, I already did." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I already know what I'm going to say." He said, "But you didn't write it down." I said, "No, I don't have to write it down. It's up here." He said, "You're going to go on the air and do it without?" I said, "Yeah." And that's what I did. I went on, I did my sports report, and I got a call later on that night from the program director at KC 101, Mike Scalzi, and he called me and he said, "George," he said, "you have the job. We don't care what the next 2 people do on Thursday and Friday. You've got the job."
Wow.
And I started the Monday after Thanksgiving, November of 1983, and been there with that Case 101, ESPN Radio 1300, and WLI are all sister stations.
Right.
Been with them ever since.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's how I got the job.
But I like I like how you made references back to your start in cable access because
I did.
You know.
You had told me that you had done some of that.
Yes, SportsWire started on public access on
Right.
CTV in Hampton, New Haven, and West Haven
Okay.
back in the late '90s to early 2000s. At one point, we were the longest running sports genre, hour-long public access show in the nation.
Really?
Yes.
Good for you. I mean, that's right. They wanted me to do some basketball games. I did them. I had a lot of fun doing it too, actually.
Yeah.
You know, doing play-by-play, and now today do play-by-play of 4 sports on the air.
Yeah. And then from there, you know, you said that how you do a lot of your stuff off the top of your head without script.
A lot of it is because you want to make it conversational.
Right.
It's not that you don't write things down or don't take little notes, but it's not like you have to write out a whole script. You don't want to make it sound like you're reading.
Exactly.
You don't do that. I always make it, sound like I get into it, and if I have any little commentary in between, I do that too. And, you throw in your own stuff, but I write as little as possible.
Okay. So over the years of broadcasting high school sports, what names come to mind for guys that have gone on to greatness, and whether it be Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL?
Well, certainly, I always think of baseball first because he's been a good friend. He's still a friend of mine, and that's Rico Brogna.
Really?
Out of Watertown, Connecticut, Watertown High School, who actually played football and baseball. I knew him in both. Had a chance to go to Clemson on a scholarship or sign a contract with the Detroit Tigers at the time. And I still talk to him, and I always thank him. I was at the station one morning, and he actually called me at the station. He said, "Coach, what do you think I should do?" Take a lot in your opinion. And I said, "Well, you might last a lot longer in baseball, only because you see those linebackers coming at you in football." He was a great quarterback.
Really?
He was a great quarterback, and he was even a better kicker.
Wow.
And in fact, he still has some of the records in Connecticut for kicking records.
Really?
Yeah, the first time I saw Rico Brogna play in a high school game, he actually lined up for a 50-yard field goal. And I was in Naugatuck at the time, and the crowd was going, there's no way. I said, "Really? Watch." And he kicked it. And
wow.
He has several records in kicking. But he decided to sign with the Tigers. Of course, played with in the Tiger. In fact, I went to see him in Pawtucket that year when he came down. Of course, he was with the New York Mets. Had a great career. I'll tell you right now, he's one of the best defensive first basemen I've ever seen.
Really?
But he had back problems, and it was his back problems that forced him to retire from baseball. So he certainly comes to mind. In fact, I purposely, when I went on vacation one year in Pennsylvania, he was coaching minor league team with the Reading Phillies for a year. I went down to see the Reading Phillies and to see him.
Okay.
And came right over, and it was just a great guy. Basketball, hey, how can you forget covering some of the great names that I remember covering? And I think of some of the New Haven area kids from New Haven. I mean, getting into it, but had already made the pros. But how about Super John Williamson? I mean, made it with the Nets and played in the NBA for a great career. His basketball, I saw Walt Luckett play down from the Bridgeport area, and Chris Smith, and you name it, I saw them in basketball. Football, over the years, a lot of the great players that I've seen have done well. I've gone on to the college scene, and that's right. I like to focus in on them there. I mean, in terms of pros,
Yeah.
There've been quite a few kids that have had their chances, certainly, but more have gone to college.
Yeah.
And have made it there big time there. Especially some of the great players that we've had over the years from Ansonia. They've had some great players. Oh, absolutely.
Great. That's awesome. Right now you are on both AVZ, which is ESPN
Radio.
Yep, ESPN 1300 and WLI 960. And you run a show every Saturday morning, right?
I have my own sports talk show on Saturday morning. Starts at 6, and we talk. We'll do the pros, and we hit the college, and we do a lot on the local scene. I've been about local and high school sports for my whole life, so it focuses a lot. I have guests on. Many of them are local guests, local coaches. Right in the summertime now, I focus on American Legion baseball, so I'll have a couple of coaches on there. I also focus on the Little League playoffs. I call it the road to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, for the Little League teams, or the road to Portland, Oregon for the girls. That's where their World Series is, 11 and 12, yes. So I have coaches on who run those teams and make it to the districts or to the state championships. As a matter of fact, last year I had the good fortune to do the Connecticut State Little League playoffs on WELI. Reason being, every so many years they rotate the sites. Last year, the Annex, and you know where that is, I'm sure, in New Haven over on Woodward Avenue, hosted the state championship games. Best 2 out of 3, and I was approached on doing the games. I got them, they did them, they sponsored them, and I did the both games at Fairfield winning there as well. So I got a chance to do that. This year in girls softball, I cover those every spring. I do play-by-play. I had the chance to call my first perfect game.
Really?
Which I'd never done before.
Wow.
Had no
girls
hitters.
softball.
Girls softball, perfect game. 21 up and 21 down.
That's impressive.
Yes. There was only a freshman that did it.
Really?
Yes, girl from Seymour, Rayanne Geffer.
Wow.
Threw a perfect game in her freshman year, and I had never called one before.
That's
so it's
awesome.
Kind of nice, yeah. Kind of nice. You're always looking to do different things.
Yeah.
And I have, yes.
That's awesome. So we were talking before the show, and some of the guests that you've had on your show, besides the local scene, the pros, you've had a lot of wrestlers on, WWE wrestlers.
I've been following wrestling since I was a little kid. My 2 sons follow it. I still follow it probably more than anybody in my family, and I love when they call me. I get into it. When they're on my show, I get into it with them. I recently had on Heyman, Paul Heyman, manager there. He was great. I was in with them, and it was just a great interview. I enjoyed it. A lot of fun. I've had Sheamus on twice.
Great.
He's been on my show. I would love to get Triple H on. I can never seem to get one of the guys I like.
Yeah.
So, but I've had them, and I've had the pleasure of meeting. Even though I always say, you can get the pro scores anywhere now, but I've had the pleasure of meeting, Wayne Gretzky.
Really?
Yeah. When he was playing with the Kings, he came to New Haven. I had the pleasure of meeting Don Shula, great coach for the Miami Dolphins. My idol growing up, of course, being a Yankee fan growing up, people listen to me know that I am a huge now Washington Nationals fan. Ever since they came back to D.C. in 05, I follow them exclusively.
Really?
Oh, I love them.
Wow.
That's because when they were the Washington Senators years ago, I used to feel sorry for them because they used to get beat all the time.
Yeah.
I just followed them when they got back, so I love the Nationals. I play their theme on my show just about every week. But I had my idol growing up was Mickey Mantle, and I had the chance to meet Mickey years ago at the New Haven Coliseum for a show.
Really?
Mickey Mantle, went to a show with Mickey Mantle, Whitey Ford, Mel Allen. It doesn't get any better.
Wow.
Billy Martin.
Yeah. That's an impressive roster of names right there.
I had a great night.
Being a Yankees fan myself.
Right, so
yes.
And I just had it.
I was just watching Old Timers Day,
from
this past week.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You look at it. I mean, I was kind of joking around. I didn't think Homer Bush had the name to be an old timer yet, but
time flies. Huh?
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
But
I've had it's not that you don't want to meet him or you don't get a chance to talk to him, but I love having the kids on or the coaches to talk about their school and what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah. So, a lot of what Sports Wire Entertainment does, we're focusing a lot on the semi-pro and minor league circuits of Connecticut, and not just the Bridgeport Bluefish, which I know you're familiar with.
Oh, absolutely.
The Bluefish, the Rock Cats, the Tigers.
Yes, Connecticut Tigers.
Yeah.
Been out to Dodge Stadium. Been out there.
We actually had the general manager of the Tigers on a previous show. And, we had the public relations director of the Bluefish on.
Absolutely.
And both great interviews, both great guys.
Right.
And what we're also doing is bringing a lot of media focus to semi-pro football.
Okay.
Have you seen any semi-pro football in your
I've seen
career?
not in the last couple of years. I have before because I've had guys on. You mentioned the New England Knights before, and
Right.
I had their coach on.
Volpe.
Volpe, yes,
Yes.
on my show more than once, as a matter of fact. Believe it or not, a few weeks ago, I had on the manager slash player coach of the women's professional team,
Yes.
Carly Pacenti. who
Okay.
is
We're working
involved-
on trying to get
Well, she's great.
that interview.
Let me tell you something. She's a linebacker, and I told her on the air I'd be afraid of her if she played. I'd probably run the other way. But yeah, so I do follow it absolutely, just like I follow, the minor league baseball. In fact, at one point, and I recently stopped. I collected minor league hats.
Really?
Oh, I wear hats all the time normally when I'm out. And I would wear all the obscure minor league teams from around the country.
Yeah.
But now I focus on just wearing the Nationals and their minor league teams.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're
Like
just
the
a
Harrisburg-
Nationals fan
I
through and
love
through.
the Nationals. As they say, we're nuts about the Nats. We have an attitude.
That's great.
I just have fun.
I
I
like
have
that.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like the loyalty with the Nationals. A lot of people nowadays. I mean, especially with the PED scandal in baseball, a lot of people are. What's your view on the PED and the people that got snubbed from the Hall of Fame and the whole situation there?
I wonder how many. The only thing I wonder sometimes is how many players have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
Are these guys going to get punished for what they did because they got caught? Yeah, probably. Because it taints the game. Baseball's such a great game.
It is.
It was my favorite game playing sports in high school. I loved playing baseball. I played it all the time because it was the one game where you didn't have to be real big. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yep.
And I could run when I was a kid, so I had good speed, thank goodness. So I could hit, I could run, I could bunt, played ball at West Haven High, So they just tainted it. It's such a great game. And the fact that I know the Legion, where I cover Zone 2, has gone back to wooden bats, and that's the way it should be. Baseball was invented for wooden bats.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. I don't like the metal bats at all.
Really?
No. Why?
So you don't
wasn't,
like-
wasn't invented that way.
True. Good point.
Wooden bats.
Yeah.
And you know what? I go for it. I'm a pure baseball guy. What?
And you know what? It probably would be better for high schoolers to play with the wooden bats
I think
because
so.
if they're going to further their career in college and the
pro.
pros, that's what they're going to be using all the time.
That is correct. That's why I don't go for it. Never have.
Okay.
Never have. I'm a purist when it comes to certain things.
That's
like that.
great.
But they're going to, will McGuire and get in years from now? I don't know. I mean, unless there's a change. I do think this, talking about guys who've been snubbed, Pete Rose, of course, bet, got caught. But look what he did. See, Mark McGuire, by taking what he did, it affected his performance on the field.
Right.
Pete Rose played the game the way it should be played.
Yeah.
I think he should be in the Hall.
I agree
I
with
think
you.
he should be in the Hall.
And I agree because a lot of the betting came while he was coaching.
Correct.
And the way I look at it is if you're betting on your team, granted it's like
it's
against the
illegal.
law, well, against the rules.
Right.
But I mean, if you're betting on your team to win.
Never bet him to lose, he said.
Right.
Always
but-
bet him to win.
Yeah.
Always bet him to win.
Yeah, exactly. If you're betting your team to win, I mean, that would give you extra motivation to make sure you win.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he should be in the Hall. I really
Yeah.
do. I really do. Just like I think Shoeless Joe Jackson should be in too, because he had nothing to do with that Black Sox scandal.
Yeah.
So why are we? I don't know. Sometimes we don't. Of course, they have their problems. Well, look at what's going on in the NFL.
Exactly.
Look what's going on with Aaron
Aaron
Hernandez.
Hernandez.
I mean, it's just getting bigger and bigger. And how many times, how many days am I going to read about NFL players? This one's arrested. This one, that.
It almost seems like every team, in order to
Has
be an
a
NFL
problem.
player, has somebody
has
being
a
arrested.
problem.
Yeah.
And I can remember Richard Pryor years ago doing a bit saying after he almost killed himself, lighting himself on fire because of the drugs he was taking. He said, this is what happens when you have too much money. And I think that's what it's all about. They just have too much money, and they think they can do about anything they want.
Yeah. No, you're
And
absolutely
until
right.
somebody does something, You know, and stop paying these guys all this money.
Well, that's what it is,
Maybe we'll get back.
and that's another reason why we like to focus on the minor leagues.
Sure.
Because especially with semi-pro football, the guys are paying to play. They're not having this multi-million-dollar contract and having to perform, for the contract.
Sure.
They're playing with passion. That, unfortunately, the amount of money, a lot of guys are just playing for the money. A-Rod is a perfect example.
I don't know. I think the Yanks have said he doesn't have to come back
Yeah.
too soon. He doesn't have to.
Right.
I mean, he keeps saying he is, but maybe not. Maybe he won't. You never know.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. I've heard numerous reports. I didn't catch the whole thing between A-Rod and Cashman this past week, and A-Rod saying that at first he said, he's been cleared to start.
But the
swinging the
Yankees
bat.
haven't.
But the Yankees haven't cleared him.
Cashman made a stupid statement.
Yeah, and then A-Rod said, "Oh well, maybe I won't be back for the end
What
of
he
the
said,
year."
that's his latest now.
Right.
That's his latest.
So I think he's full of drama, and the Yankees really don't need that.
No.
Let's
Let's just go play baseball.
Exactly.
Do that.
It's amazing. Derek Jeter and A-Rod, they were the best of friends at one point, and they're just complete polar opposites.
Absolutely.
Jeter brings no drama to himself.
And
And he's
good
a
for
baseball
him.
purist.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
I love it.
He is definitely a full-blooded Yankee through and through. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I want to thank you for coming on. It's already been a 22-minute interview.
I'm sorry it
Time
took so
flies.
long.
No, it's great. Time flies when you're having
talking
fun.
to you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love talking about the high schools and what I do, and I certainly hope you do well.
Thank you.
I really hope. I love your new your logo.
Thank you. I designed it myself.
You did really? Look
Yeah.
at that. Sports Wire. Look, I love it. And I'm going to make YouTube here, huh?
Yeah. Yep. This will.
I'm gonna
interview
make
will be on
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah.
My wife's name is Brenda. I made it. I made YouTube.
Thank you very much for coming on,
Thank
Coach.
you, Vin.